All right, and we are live. Hello, ladies. Welcome back. You know what? I looked the last time I live streamed, it was the three of us. I
I
think
saw
it
that
said
too.
yeah. I think it said around 9 months ago.
Uh-huh.
But so first of all, hello, welcome. My name is April Thatch. People call me Prill, and here on the YouTube streets, I'm known as Positively Prill. And as I was talking to my guest today offline, I was saying there is so much foolishness, madness, and mayhem abound, okay, going on in the world today. A lot of, unfortunately, things that disproportionately impact Black women. And so when I was saying to them, representation matters. And I think that it's important to see some Black women who have faced some of these same challenges, been run up out of our jobs, been just saying like, where can we go? Where else can we go? What else can we do? During times that, although they're different from right now, but it was we had to make some huge shifts and changes. And so I want to talk today, and my guest, each of us have, as I mentioned in the thumbnail and the title of this video, is redesign your next move. And we have, each of us have redesigned our next moves. We have redesigned our lives and are working. I was about to say hard, but we are working, okay, smooth working
True.
to support and lift up and represent Black women. So today we are going to talk about, I call it the sunny side of the shift. We have made some huge shifts and some huge moves in our lives, and we want to share with you today, not just when we realized it was time to switch things up, um, and not even just how we did it, but we want to show you. You see these smiles? I know you see this golden hour glow. Okay, we want to show you, and just be a living testimony as to what it looks like on the other side. Because I don't know about you ladies, but we good over here, right? Okay, so look, let me not steal their thunder. Let's get to it. If you do not mind introducing yourself, Marissa, you can go ahead and start, and then Dr. Kamani after her.
Yeah, so I'm Marissa Price. I am a liberatory healer. I'm also a digital business strategist. I'm the co-founder of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women. And this year we're in our third year and so excited about all the amazing speakers that we have coming, our incredible sponsors that we have. And yeah, just looking forward to, specifically at this time with what we're going through collectively as Black women, being forced out of the workforce. This summit, I think, is coming at a really pivotal time to provide strategic planning and practical guidance for us to chart a path forward, really in a
Mhm.
legacy of Black women activists. So yeah, that is me, Marissa Price. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kimani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I'm also a toxic job survivor, but I love to say I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I am the co-founder with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, and I agree. So, with the layoffs of Black women, and it's interesting that there's always this new information come out about the statistics. So, we know about the 300,000 Black women who've been laid off, but now it's coming out that there's an additional 300,000 who were already unemployed. So now it's 600,000 Black women. So Marissa and I have been very intentional with recognizing the 600,000 Black women who still have been pushed out the job market. So the Job Liberation Virtual Summit is for all Black women. So it's for Black women who are in toxic jobs now, and it's also for the Black women who've been pushed out of the job market. And the Job Liberation Virtual Summit helps Black women, as Marissa said, come up with strategic plans about how to replace your income, whether this be if you want to go into another job or if you want to create your own business. Also about how to replace your benefits, so your health insurance, your retirement income, as well as how to create multiple streams of income. Because as Black women, we know, particularly during this time, we know we need to have multiple streams of income. So all of this information is provided from more than 20 phenomenal Black women speakers. And we're going to talk about this also, that there's a privacy consideration that none of the summit participants will be seen on camera. because we know that we value our privacy. Only the summit speakers will be on camera, and summit participants can attend anonymously if they would like to.
Okay, look, I done talked about stealing thunder. You know I've been working on my screen share, okay? Now you done told me.
Let us make sure that we also emphasize that Miss April is our MC for the 3rd year in a row. Okay.
Yes, okay. Yeah, this is and we are gonna talk about this in detail. I'm gonna, I was joking, but yeah, I do have a little, visual aids to show because this is something in that the 3rd year it's been happening, the 3rd year that I have the privilege and honor of being the MC, and it is the highlight of my year. I do a lot of different events as a voice actor, a lot of different hats that I wear, but it truly is the highlight. And I want to make sure that we shine that, a little bit before we do our Q&A. But to go ahead and start this off, I know that we all work with Black women. Tell me one thing. I know there's many, but tell me one thing that you love about being able to work with Black women.
I think, our depth, right? Our depth of spirit, our insistence to share resources with each other. That's something I have not seen in other groups. And it continues to make me proud and really deeply rooted that I stand in this legacy, right, of coming together as a community to share resources. We're up against so many forces, and those forces are continuing to intensify in the present day. And so how do we create a safe space for each other to pour into each other, right, to really reflect back to each other that it's not us, and stay rooted in just, the word that keeps coming up is depth, right? We have so much depth. We have so many skills, so many talents, so many gifts. And we use them so often to uplift each other in our communities, which is really special. So I love Black women. Shout out to Black women. Yes.
We are special, aren't we? Oh, I love being a Black woman. It makes my mouth, my mouth waters and I get excited. My mouth is watering talking about how much I love being a Black woman. Okay, Dr. Kimani, go ahead and tell.
I want to just say that's a hard question because we are so dope. So I just want to just add to what Marissa said and what you just said too, April. But I would say that just to know that as Black women historically, that we know how to pivot and we know how to make a way out of a no way, because all of us have had to do that. And I was watching the Karen Hunter show recently, and she made a quote recently, and I love it. I love it. And I've been talking about this a lot on LinkedIn, that Black women, we don't panic, we pivot. We pivot. And so I want us to remember that we pivot. So during this time of chaos and confusion, particularly right now, that we can feel like, oh my God, all these terrible things are happening to me. And they are happening. Okay. But we have to be mindful of what can we focus on, what we can control. Because if we don't do that, then we can fall into this trap of being helpless and hopeless. And I refuse to do that. And so we don't want to do that, because then we get into panic, and we get panicked, we get out of control. So we have to focus on what is it that what we can control. And so that is what the summit is focusing on. What is it that you can control? These terrible things may have happened to you. You may have gotten laid off. You may think that you're about to get laid off. You might be in a toxic job. Yet, what is it that you can control in this moment? You can control coming to the summit. You can control your exit plan. So let us focus on what you can control. So I love that we as Black women, we have always known how to pivot.
And you know what? I was in Cuba about 6 weeks ago now, and it was right as the fuel shortages were beginning. And I remember people asking me, like, how was it? I said, I don't feel sorry for the Cuban people. The Cuban people, and I'm not saying that in like a callous way. I'm saying, like, I don't view them and feel sorry for them, because they are, as you mentioned, resilient. they will make a way out of no way. And if Marissa, you live down the street and you have rice, Dr. Kamani, you have beans, I've got, some fresh water, and I may have some vegetables, like, we're going to make it do what it do. And that is what I saw there, the community supporting each other. So even though it pained me in a lot of ways to see what was happening to the people, they didn't feel sorry for themselves. They were not, I guess a victim. I don't want to say it that way, but I just saw so much of the resilience and just so much of the creativity and the community in the Cuban people. Okay, so we did talk about making a way out of no way.
Can I say something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Because some people might hear that, right? And then some people might hear some of our content and they might say, yeah, but it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that we have to be resilient. It shouldn't be that we have to be strong. It shouldn't be that, we have to pivot. It shouldn't be that way. You're right. It should not be that way. Okay. It should not be that we have to do these things against these systems, right? Yet, the reality is that there is systemic injustice. We understand that, right? Mm-hmm. It is wrong that these systems have done these things. That is correct, right? Yet, we can do both things. We can call out societal injustice, yes, and we can also do things to help us as well, right? So we can also pivot. We can also focus on the things that we do to be resilient. We can also focus on the things that we're doing to help ourselves. It's a both and, because sometimes people think like, well, let's just focus on fighting the system and talking about the man. Let's focus on both, because if we let's just only focus on taking the system down, well, then how are you focusing on also what are you doing for yourself? You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, we shouldn't, but guess what we do? We have to. We shouldn't, but we do. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to get wrapped up in we shouldn't have to. The reality is that we do have to.
Yeah.
We do have to.
Yes. And very similar to, like I was saying in my example with the Cuban people, they shouldn't have to go through what they're going through, but they support each other. They have community. They lift each other up and hold each other up many times. And I think, Dr. Kamani, you've mentioned, I don't want to mess it up, but you talk about like reaching your hand back to guide someone else along, not just necessarily to pull us up, but to guide us along. I'm thinking of a time when when I was boohooing and I was driving. Like you can't see sometimes. You can't see when there's either tears in your eyes or when there's just so much in front of you. Like that saying, you can't see the forest through the trees. That's why I think it's really important for there to be beacons and for Black women like us to get together and talk about what are some of the resources, talk about the community, and to, like I said, just to represent for those of us who have been able to find the support and find the community to get to, the place where we are right now.
Like Harriet reached back, like she came back, right? Ancestors didn't know their way to freedom, but she came back and she led them out. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? One thing, and I know we keep going back and forth and talking about the summit. One thing that I love about the summit is like the chat. As the MC, like I'm in and out of the chat and we have some assistants, that help. But it's like the uplifting that occurs in the chat. Speaking of representation, that is a microcosm that exists just in that chat of women who are like, no, sis, it's okay, girl. And I'm like, yes, like rooting for each other and part of the community. And here I go, I'm still in the thunder. Okay, let me make a note, community. Okay, we're going to talk about the community portion and how it really is more and it's bigger than just a summit. So let me press pause on that. Let's talk briefly, because again, I don't want us to go, I don't want us to go like too far to the left, but I think it is important for us to talk about like how we arrived at where we are right now. Let's talk about like where we were. And really what happened that things started to click that maybe we need to leave these environments that we are in. And before I go ahead and let you ladies jump in, for those of you who are watching, and I know this summit, I know a lot of the things that we talk about and that we are going to talk about today are about jobs, but this is a skill set that when I left corporate, I started reevaluating a lot of my interpersonal relationships. Even what is it that I do want out of my life? And I am in a very similar place right now, having lived in Mexico for almost 2 years, temporarily moving back to the US. Where do I want to go next? What do I want to do? So it's muscle memory. But I want to hear from you all just a little bit of your backstory so we can get to kind of flow along in our timeline. So whomever wants to go first.
Okay, yeah, I was so I was in a corporate role. I actually worked in the banking field. And so all the things that come along, right, being a Black woman in corporate spaces, I definitely experienced. And it was a process of me realizing like the role that I was in, I was experiencing workplace bullying. I had gone from pet to threat, which I had no idea what was happening to me before coming across Dr. Kamani's channel and seeing that term be mentioned. I was like, oh, this is what's happening, right? Because I was actually excelling in the role that I was in. I was getting asked to be on these different panels and stuff, but I had what I now know is an insecure supervisor, right? Who kind of saw the light that I was bringing into spaces and was intimidated by that and tried to suppress me. And so that led to like a downward spiral of me experiencing depression, right? Having to take time off from that job and eventually deciding to leave after being in communities with other Black women who were saying they were having similar experiences. So I was able to like externalize that because before I was taking that on myself and
Mm-hmm.
trying to like contort myself within this environment to stay to try to get approval from this person and then to see like, oh, it's not me. And therapy was a really pivotal part of that process for my therapist to like reflect back to me. It's actually the job, right? It's not you. And from there, it's like all these like healing resources came as I like intentionally sought out community with other Black women. I was in the chats so often, Dr. Kamani's channel, Colette Elizabeth's channel, just trying to like seek out information and put the pieces together what was happening to me because I had invested so much education, so much time, right, to get to this level at such a young
Mm-hmm.
age and then to be met with an insecure person to try to like take my whole career down. It felt like it was a lot. And so I eventually like pivoted into entrepreneurship, working with Black women digital entrepreneurs, and I've been an entrepreneur for the past 3 years, and it has been really healing, challenging, I'll say, but like healing to be able to work with people who see your light and want to uplift you versus suppress you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what so often we experience in the workplace as Black
Yeah,
women.
they want to know how they can get some of that light, okay? Because Black women gonna glow,
It's true.
okay?
Hmm.
And Dr. Kamani, one second, because I know that you always cite the sources. You always make sure that you give the flowers to the what is the word? I was about to say theologians. That is not it. To the
Researching.
right, to the researchers who came up with that term. But I do want to ask you a question, Marissa. Is tell me about, there typically is that one thing, a core memory of like, this was the last thing that happened that started that ball rolling. Do you mind sharing like what, just kind of off the
Yeah.
top of your head?
Yeah, so I had actually come back to the job. After taking a leave of absence, I took 11 weeks off. I came back to the job to try to get, like, I still needed finances to get my financial exit plan in order. And I always say I would never do that ever again, right? Because once you enter back into that environment, now you're in even more of a target, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
people are jealous that you took time off. They're trying to take you down even harder. And so just to say that, but yeah, it was a period of this particular person like talking over me constantly in meetings, trying to, I guess, like poke holes in what I was doing, even though I was getting praise from other people. And so that was the last straw. I'm like, I'm tired because I was trying to talk over her, talking over me. And I'm like, hold on, this is too much energy that I'm expending, right?
Mm-hmm.
To try to do my job. And so that was like the last thing. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So making like my final exit strategy from that role after the 6 months that I had returned.
Got you. And you know what? You mentioned Dr. Kamani, so I'll let you go ahead and talk. But yeah, Dr. Kamani, Dr. Kamani's videos, like, yeah, and I've been on your channel, I don't know how many times. I've been on your channel a couple times, Dr. Kamani, but one of the things, same thing, you have built a community of women who, as Marissa was saying, like, it's not me, it's them. Or we think that we can just outwork, like we're just going to work. And then eventually they'll see that, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. They'll see that I deserve to be here. Like, I'm just going to work, extra hard. I'm going to start earlier, work later, work weekends, just do things to almost force people to acknowledge that I deserve to be here. So Dr. Kamani, I'll go ahead and let you jump in, but if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about Pet to Threat that Marissa mentioned.
Yeah. Well, first I want to comment on what you just said, because that's the part that trips us up. And I'm speaking of this in terms of my own experience, but also as a therapist and as a coach who works with Black women, is that logically we're trying to make sense of this because many of us are so high performing at our jobs that we think, wait a minute, this doesn't make logical sense. I'm high performing, I exceed expectations, I'm a team player, I come early, I stay late, I do all these things. It doesn't make logical sense. And it's not going to make logical sense. Okay, that's the first thing, right? Because you're dealing with, and I'm going to quote my dear friend Colette Elizabeth, because many times we're dealing with people in leadership positions who oftentimes don't deserve to be in leadership positions because they're incompetent, insecure, and immature. Okay.
And mediocre.
And mediocre at best. Okay. So the trifecta. So we're dealing with all these people. So it's not going to make logical sense because you're dealing with these insecurities. Okay. So we have to recognize as Black women, you cannot outwork this. You cannot outwork people trying to give you respect because they don't even respect themselves. And your brilliance, your excellence shines a light on their incompetence. So the more you work, the more excellent you are, the more insecure they become. So the worse they're going to be, right? So it's counterproductive. So you're thinking that you're doing something to make things better. It's counterproductive because of their own insecurities, right? So when we talk about the imposter syndrome, I have issues with that with Black women because I think it's an externalized thing. And I've had, guests on my channel talking about that it's actually an imposed syndrome. And we had a whole video about that because many times it's external. As Black women come to the workplace, we're often confident about our abilities because we have to be, because people are often questioning us. We're like double credentialed up. We got triple degrees. We got all these things because people don't just hand out jobs to us. So when we come in the workplace, oftentimes we have this sense of confidence, but people are projecting their sense of incompetence on us. So then we might start questioning ourselves. So the part that trips us up is that we're trying to make logical sense out of things that is not, we can't make logical sense out of it. Okay. So that's the part we have to really watch ourselves, because we can get in this crazy making pattern of, it doesn't make sense. And we're talking to our friends, girl, does that make sense? Let me tell you what happened. It's not going to make sense. That's why you need to be in therapy, to talk to a therapist, and your therapist is going to say, girl, that does not make sense. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So to talk about Pet to Threat, because that ties into my whole experience of being in a toxic job and all that. Okay. So I used to work for the second largest school district in the nation. I'm not going to say the name, but if you know the second largest school district in the nation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So when I first started working there, it was a great experience. It was wonderful. It was like a dream job. Okay. And I loved the work that I did. I was a clinical psychologist, and it was great. I had two Black women supervisors. They were wonderful. But then when they retired, I knew that I was in trouble because I knew the whole system was toxic. I knew that, but they were my buffers. Okay. And then when they retired, I was like, oh no, I don't have my buffers anymore. And so true enough, that's what happened, right? I didn't have my buffers anymore. And so I went from pet to threat. So pet to threat is when you're in a situation in which you're sought out for your outstanding work abilities, right? So Pet to Threat was created by three Black women researchers. And let me just say this first. Okay. So three Black women researchers, Dr. Juanita Johnson Bailey, Dr. Keisha Thomas, Dr. Rosemary Phelps. So Pet to Threat deals with when you come into the workplace or you're sought out in the workplace because of your outstanding work abilities. And they're like, oh my God, you are so smart. You have just changed the whole work environment. You have saved this project, Marissa. Oh my God, April, you are just the best, right? So you're the pet. You're the pet, right? But then you start outshining other people. And then there's a shift in terms of how you're seen and treated as if you're the threat. And they try to push you out in some kind of way. Okay. So that is what happened to me. Okay. Now, I just want to say, shameless plug, that all three of those researchers are going to be at the summit.
Yes.
So I've interviewed them before on my channel, but special treat that they will be at the summit. And we're going to have a fireside chat with them. So you need to come to the summit so you can see this conversation with them. But I went from that, right? So it was like, like first this and then like, wait, like what just happened, right? And again, not making logical sense. Like, wait a minute, I'm outperforming. I'm working up and above my job duties. All my job evaluations are stellar. Like, what just happened here? What just happened? And just the level of disrespect and demoralization, it was just outrageous, right? And so it got to a point where I kept trying to fight, right? Because I really believed in the work that I did. And I really believed that my mission at that job was to be the Harriet Tubman at that job for Black students, staff, and families, right? So I felt like I had to do this and I had to work on the Underground Railroad. And people actually knew me as Harriet Tubman at the job. Oh, Dr. Kimani gonna take care of that because she Harriet Tubman, right? And I was proudly Harriet Tubman, right? But then I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy. I'm working for a school district and I gotta be Harriet Tubman. There's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with this. But what I came to recognize was that, number one, when I was personally attacked for different things that I was doing, right? I recognized it wasn't just a workplace bully, it was the whole system.
Yeah.
I recognized that when I went to human resources, they were not trying to help me. They were protecting the whole system, right? But I had to go through these things for me to experience this, right? And now I openly speak about it. And then what I recognized was that there was no true investment in really helping Black students anyway. And when I tried as much as I could to support Black students, they did whatever they could to undermine me from even doing the work anyway. So I was like, okay, I'm fighting to even do my job. What am I doing? And so there was this constant, like, I'm fighting, but for what? I can't even do the work that I want to do. And so it was wearing me down physically, psychologically. I was in therapy. My therapist was like, girl, you need to go.
Yes, mine too.
First of all, it's harming you, right? She was like, physically, psychologically, it's harming you. Second of all, this job is too small for you. She was like, you deserve to be in a bigger place than this job. This job is way too small for you. They're intimidated by you. You need to go. Okay. And so I was saying to her, like, why would God be doing this to me? I'm a good person. I'm a good employee. Like, why would God be doing this to me? And she said, girl, God has a rescue mission for you. God is trying to get you out that job, but you're not paying attention. You're being hard-headed. Get out of there, right? Take a leave of absence and get your exit plan ready, right? So then I took a leave of absence, right? And then when I was on that leave of absence, I started doing my exit plan because I knew I was not going back to that job. Didn't tell nobody at the job, okay? Took my leave of absence, and then I started thinking about, okay, I need to start replacing my income because the only thing keeping me at that job is income, okay? So I started replacing my income. I started doing telehealth therapy. So I started doing that, started replacing my income. But another part of it was, okay, I need to really have a sense of confidence that I have enough money. So then I started working with a financial psychologist who is Dr. Roche Brown. Another shameless plug. Dr. Roche Brown is a Black woman financial psychologist who is what? A speaker at the Financial Summit, at the Child Liberation Virtual Summit.
Yeah.
So start working with her, got my financial exit plan together, right? So I'm putting all these things in place in terms of getting my plan together, my exit plan. But I still couldn't make that final move. I still couldn't make that final move, right? I'm in therapy. I'm replacing my income. I'm with the financial psychologist. I'm doing all these different things.
Yep.
And then I'm starting to talk on Instagram about my experience in a toxic job, right? Because I knew what they were doing at the job was trying to demean me, humiliate me, silence me. And me, I'm like, oh, you gonna try to silence me? I'm gonna get louder. I'm like, you are not gonna silence. That's one thing you're not gonna do. You're not gonna silence me, right? And so I started talking on Instagram. So then when I was talking on Instagram, I was watching Stephanie Perry, and she was like, oh, I have this YouTube class or challenge, sign up for this. So I signed up for Stephanie Perry's YouTube challenge. And when I signed up for her YouTube challenge, she said, oh, you should create a YouTube channel, What do you want to talk about? I think maybe Black women toxic jobs. She said, girl, do that immediately, right? So I started talking about it on YouTube, and I was like amazed, right? So I just literally, I thought I was going to have like a 2-week series about workplace bullying, and it was going to be over. I was like, oh, what else am I going to talk about, right? But then the more I started talking about my experience in a toxic job, then I started interviewing other Black women about their experience in toxic jobs. Black women from around the world started talking to me, right? Oh my God, you're telling my story. Oh my God, I'm not alone. And then I noticed this Marissa Price kept ending up in my chat, right? I just kept noticing that name, Marissa Price. I was like, wow, she is like always in there, right? And so I remember at one point or several points, she would say that she was a virtual assistant, right? And so at a certain point, I needed a virtual assistant badly, right? So I don't know how I tracked Marissa down, but I tracked Marissa down. I was like, Marissa, can we schedule a call? So we scheduled a call. And then Marissa and I started working together. Phenomenal working relationship. And I was heartbroken when we were no longer able to work together as virtual assistants. But, I know Marissa had to move on. But then we became partners in terms of the virtual summit, right? So the virtual summit is Marissa's idea, right? So she was like, I have this idea for this virtual summit. And I'm so glad that she told me about this idea. Again, this is her baby. So I'm so glad that we were able to kind of come together and partner on this. And this is how this came to be. And April, I think we met you through Stephanie Perry too. Is that right? Yeah. So it's just so amazing.
I think you asked me when we were in the monthly coaching, I think I was talking about something, and you're like, oh, do you want to come on my channel? I'm like, me? I think I had like 11 followers or something. Or not for subscribers at the time. Most of them were me from different accounts.
So it's so amazing, like how like this community has developed, right? And shameless plug, my YouTube channel is Lifting As We Climb Consulting. But it's so amazing. Like every Sunday now, I come on live every Sunday, which used to be the worst day and time of my life. Because it used to be the Sunday scaries. I knew
the bubble
Monday I had to go right back to that job, right? But now it's a transformative healing experience for me, because now every Sunday I'm interviewing another Black woman, because I am sharing with Black women, look, you are not alone. You have options, and I'm sharing options with you. I'm like joyful every Sunday, right? So it's so healing for me, because I am able to provide resources for other Black women. And so it's a transformative experience, right? So to be able to do that, and to be able to meet so many Black women from around the world by me sharing my own experience is absolutely amazing. And, I kind of joke with people that I never knew about LinkedIn when I was at the toxic job. And in fact, I was like, what is this LinkedIn? What is this stuff? Like, who are people sending me these invites? What is this? This is so annoying. What is this? Right? And now I'm like out here talking about myself. but it's liberating. It's liberating to talk
Mhm.
about what happened to me, because before I used to be so ashamed. I used to be so ashamed that these people did these things to me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm like,
Yeah.
like I, what? Like that they did these things to me, and I felt so I didn't know what to do. I didn't know
Yeah.
what to do, and I felt so alone.
Yeah.
I felt like I was
Yeah.
the only one going through this, and I felt like I didn't. Nobody could really help me, and because of what I went through, I was like, I don't want anybody. I don't want not
Right.
one Black woman
Yeah.
to go through what I went through, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that is what I do, what I do. That's why I do what I do, right? And that's why I love to do what I do. That's why it
Mhm.
brings me joy to do what I do. And that's why I will continue to do what I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? It never ceases to amaze me. And as you're talking, um, I'm trying to think, do I know one Black woman that I have shared my story with that says that she doesn't like that she has a similar story? I don't know. And I don't have the answer as to what like as to why that is. But I seriously was trying to think of a Black woman that I know that has had a positive experience working at someone else's company. And I don't mean
Mm,
temporarily or like I think Marissa said, having to contort
mm,
herself, but to say like I love what I do, it brings me joy in long term, something that's sustainable. I have shared before, like my own story and kind of like that last thing
mhm,
that was a tipping point for me. And I'll share it again. And I hadn't planned on it, but
mhm.
like I said, the fact that, well, first of all, I went viral. So on my video I had like almost 60,000 views or whatever.
Wow.
Go ahead.
50 something, yeah. On a
Wow.
video when I was in Mexico talking about when it was the big kerfuffle with the cartel, and it was just a lot of negative media out there. And I'm like, look, okay, well, let me tell you what's going on because I live here.
Mhm,
But there I as a result, I got, I don't know, in a matter of days, double subscribers. So I don't want to, knowing that the majority of my subscribers are Black women,
mhm,
me saying that that I don't know a Black woman who doesn't have this story. I think that I need to share my story because one thing both of you mentioned, even though we all went out on leave of absence, you all both mentioned having some type of what is this? Is it called exit strategy or some type of plan? Mine, I say that I RUNNOFT. Okay. After stuff went left that day, I got in my car, I got in the parking lot, I peeled up out of there, and I never went back. Just real briefly, I was at an international broker dealer and also in the finance industry. And I was the highest ranking Black woman out of a company that around the world has thousands of people. I was the highest ranking Black woman, one of two, I don't like saying women of color, but one of two women of color, but the highest ranking in the entire organization, one of two women of color in kind of this the Phoenix metro kind of area, Southwest region. And I'm at an offsite. They had been offering me a promotion. I had recently started working with a therapist on boundaries and saying no and asking what are the things that I want. Again, trying to make fetch happen, trying to make me fit into this nice shape, even though my life is like has no shape and it was like bursting at the seams, but trying to force things to work. And I said, I mustered up my strength and we did the role playing, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna tell them, I don't want this. I keep turning it down. Review time came around, and I got quarterly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 5-figure minimum quarterly bonuses, and then the annual bonus was definitely in excess of that. So they messed with my money. They gave me, I think, like $7,000 as my annual, again, based on performance. Now, I told you it's 5 figures, it's quarterly, and you're giving me $7,000 for annual bonus. And I'm not saying that that's not a lot of money. I'm saying that contextually speaking. And they said, well, you know what, if you take that promotion, if you take this, it would have been a promotion to them, but no. And I said, no, I'm happy where I am, but we can get you that money back, and we can get you a bonus, and we can get you this, and we can get you that. And I'm like, no, because I'd already, like I said, made my mind up that I'm leaving this job. I didn't know when, but I knew I was going to leave. And we had an leadership offsite. The second, my leadership reported directly to the CEO of this organization. And so I have people that report to me, but there's also, like, I'm the only Black person in the room. I'm one of two women, period, in the room. And, you take your breaks during the offsites. And he came over, hey, such and such, my director, told me that you're turning this down, and this, that, and the third. And I said, yeah, I'm good where I am. I like the team that I've built. I'm okay. No, I think, I'll help you. Even this, like, saying it now is just like, girl, no, I'm not volunteering for work. But at the time I was trying to, appease them again, to try to pacify them, so they won't be mad at me, saying, hey, I'll help you hire, I'll get them up and running, I'll help get this person onboarded. That man started yelling at me. And what I remember, and I've shared this before, was, if you ask me what the turning point was, it was feeling his spit, because he was foaming at the mouth, feeling his spit hit my face. And when it hit my lip, I was paralyzed. I'm not going to act like I stood up for myself, because I didn't. And there was a lot of shame that came behind that, because it was a time that I should have stood up for myself, but I didn't. And in reality, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It was not safe for me to do that, emotionally safe for me to do that. So when you all talk about your strategy, thankfully I was in the financial position where I did not have to get necessarily my plan together. But that leads me to another area that I wanted to touch on. Is we talked about the resources that each of us took advantage of. And we also, each of us have shared that, that we knew that we needed to leave that job. Talk to me about that next piece. Okay, I know I need to leave. Or I got my therapist. Okay, all of us had that. We all mentioned, because one thing's for certain, and two things is for sure. I'm gonna tell you to get some professional mental health assistance, and to get in community. But let's bridge those, because both of you have mentioned about some of the community that was built. But each of us, at least for me, let me speak for myself, I was alone in this. I had no idea. No one in my world was like, yeah, I'm not happy at this job, and I'm going to leave. Because happy, who got time? That good job you got, please. The golden handcuffs. So I want to talk about the mental handcuffs, a term that Dr. Kimani, you mentioned, that you discovered, I believe you said on LinkedIn. And that is, we understand the golden handcuffs. We've got the lifestyle creep. We've got mortgages, we've got cars, we've got, expenses. We have built a life around our income from these good jobs. So that's the golden handcuffs. Let's talk about the mental handcuffs of, even when we are prepared to leave the job, we have all of our ducks in a row. Dr. Kimani, as you were outlining the things in my mind, I'm like, check, check, check. Let's talk about the mental handcuffs, about how difficult it was for us to mentally separate from the job, even when we were financially and maybe physically ready to leave that job. So whomever wants to go.
Yeah, so I learned about the term mental handcuffs from a woman in my cohort from Brick by Brick. Her name is Courtney. And she talked about the mental handcuffs are thinking that that job is the only place where you're able to utilize those skills. And many of us think that. And even though I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and even though I was licensed before I worked at that job, I had all the credentials, all the stuff before I started working at that job. part of that mindset, part of the mental handcuffs was, oh my God, if I leave this job, where else am I going to work? Where else am I going to make my money? Right? Even though I know logically that makes no sense. That makes no sense. Right? And so I think many of us think the same way. But when we're able to say, wait a minute, what are my transferable skills? What are my transferable skills? And what are the lowest hanging fruit? Right? So, what are the things that I already do at this job that I can easily pivot and do somewhere else? I'm a therapist. I was trained to be a therapist. I can easily be a therapist anytime that I wanted to be a
Mm-hmm.
therapist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to take the key and take my power back and become a therapist. I do telehealth. And so I had to really challenge those mental handcuffs because I really was thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do about my income? And so I think a lot of us get tripped up in thinking. And the other thing too, April, was part of what kept me there too was I felt that, I was there to really help Black students, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, well, in what other capacity can I really help Black students if it's not in a school district? Okay. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a school administrator. I'm not a school psychologist. So how can I do that? So I need to stay with the school district. That is not true. So as I pivoted, and this is what's so amazing too. So when I released and said, okay, God, I- this is not where you want me to be clearly. Okay, I'm paying attention. When I released that job, other opportunities came my way that I am now able to do things and help Black students at a larger level,
Mm-hmm.
make more money, and impact more Black students. But I had to release that job. I had to release
Yeah.
that job. And so now I'm able to do things on a higher level. I couldn't see it at the time. I couldn't see it at the time, but I knew that it wasn't going to happen there. But first, they were blocking me from doing it anyway, right? But
Yeah.
I had to say, okay, I know it's not here. It has to be somewhere else. And it was, right? So we have to recognize that even if we're mission driven, there's a
Mm-hmm.
high likelihood that you could still do that work somewhere else. Don't think that that's the only place that you could still do that work, or there's the only place where you can make money. Highly
Mm-hmm.
unlikely that that's true.
Yeah. Or even the only place where you can be. I think
Yeah.
many times, especially we have as Black women, I don't know, the entire culture like on our shoulders, the people that came before us, or being the first person in your family to go to college, or there is a lot of projection that occurs, and a lot of people are living vicariously through us. So we have put so much time and so much effort, and we have so much education. It's like the sunk cost fallacy. Like our brains cannot even think of going someplace else because like you said, where else am I going to go to make this kind of money? Where am I going to go that I'm able to fulfill this purpose or this mission? But I know for me, I felt as if I was leaving, like, well, who else is going to do this if I'm not there? And that honestly was the reason why I didn't take, once you go through therapy and you get on the other side of this thing and you can look back and see it. But at that time, I didn't realize how much of me not taking vacation. Yes, it's conditioning. Yes, you understand that there will be some maybe put a target on your back, or there will be some punitive consequences if you do take time off. But in all honesty, I liked how it felt to be needed. And because I associated my job and because I worked 7 days a week, my personality was also associated with that job. I felt bad for leaving people and leaving, someone else who can't do the work. So who else is going to do it? And that is I think the conditioning that we have been told. I mean, I remember my mother saying, like, who's going to hire you? You've had so many jobs, because my parents are from the generation where you get that good job and you stay there. And it doesn't matter what you go through. It has the benefits. It has, it's a lot better than such and such. Like, this is not the crappy, the bar is in the gutter Olympics. Like, just because it's better than such and such, it's trash for me. I'm going through it. People used to say, well, if they paid me, first of all, you don't know what they paid me, but if they paid me what they paid you, or if I had your job, I wouldn't be, I say that money is only a motivator until you get used to it. And then you can't dangle that money in front of you anymore. Not when I want to go home. I don't want to do this work. So Marissa, I'll go ahead and let you chime in because, I'll get to going off over here. But yeah, I'll go ahead and let you chime in.
Yeah, I think similar to Dr. Kamani, I was in a role like leading a racial equity strategy right at a major bank at a young age. And so I was like, who else is going to take on this role? I was the first Black person in this role to take this on. And it was breaking my body down. Like literally I was dealing with insomnia, so many other like physical symptoms. And so I came across Exodus Summit. And I think that was really the catalyst for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Coming across Stephanie Perry's videos, I took a weekend at a hotel and I think she had 10 steps to a breakthrough. Her workbook that she had, her free workbook, I just worked through that and found so many areas like that were going wrong, right? In the job that I was in, the life that I was living, and to see like different possibilities that could exist for my life was so beneficial. I started group coaching with Rashida Dow. She had a group coaching program called From Burnout to Bliss at the time. And so to be in a community with other Black women we were all like planning career breaks, which was a completely new concept to me, right? As a first generation college student, all these firsts that I've gone through, I've never heard like that I could take a career break before. So being in a community, seeing that it was possible for me to do, I think was so helpful. And then I traveled abroad for the first time on the break that I had from work. And that opened my eyes to the world outside of the US, right? I think it's like crucial to say the history of Black women's labor in the US. Our labor has always been undervalued. We've always been harmed, right? From the time that we were unfortunately forced here, right? And so that history like carries through to what we experience in the workplace today. And so to be outside of the US and to see like me being valued, right? The care that was shown to me in Mexico, I traveled to Mexico City. It was life changing. And I began to see that there was a different way than what I was experiencing day to day, like the trauma, the harm. And so that was it, right? It was getting into community, traveling abroad, and then really like absorbing the knowledge and wisdom of Black women YouTubers like Stephanie Perry, Dr. Kamani, Colette Elizabeth, that allowed me to see like, oh, first of all, it's not me. And I can kind of like put that out onto the job. The job is toxic. And I don't have to sacrifice myself for this mission. And I can still do like economic development work, which I'm still doing as an entrepreneur, helping Black women digital entrepreneurs. So the mission didn't stop. It just went into a new direction where it wasn't harming me. So that's possible for you too, if you're watching. Yeah.
Oh, it is. And you know what? I'm in a completely, okay, so two things. One is I am in a completely, never in a million years that I think that I would transfer my skill set to do do what I'm, doing right now, as far as, working with my corporate clients and then, working with Black women. But the same thing, I discovered Stephanie Perry and Exodus Summit. I believe it was 2022. I think it was in 2022, maybe like a week or so before the summer was going to occur. And that's what I say, like representation matters. To get to hear a complete stranger as if they're in your mind telling you their story that mirrors yours so much, to see Black women who, like in my case, I don't relate to people who are like, yeah, so like my lease was up and I didn't have a job and I didn't have anything. So I just packed up and I left and I didn't know what I was going to do when I get there. Like, I can't do that. The same as I can't relate to people who have to think about their children. They either have young children or they have, teenagers, things like that. My son is 30, so I don't have to. I love to say that. You see how I just said it? I love Black women. You can't. People ask me who does my Botox since I've been back in the States. Botox, I ain't gonna Botox, but yeah, but so that's one thing about getting in community and seeing yourself represented and mirrored back, and hearing someone tell you, that there's something I said that there have been complete strangers to me, never met these people, but see them on the internet, what have you, that have given me permission. I use that term intentionally. No, it is not in the literal sense someone is saying, I permit you. No, but hearing that, seeing it lets me know that I can do it too. Yeah. So
it's mirroring and it's validating. And that's healing. That's healing, right? And I also want to say a few things to what you were saying earlier, April, one is when you talked about your experiences before at the job, that you were over-identifying with the job. So your identity became fused with the job. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so dangerous. I think a lot of Black women do that. And so that's becomes so difficult to leave the job because it's like, who am I without this job? Yep. Right? Yep. And so we have to recognize when that's happening. And I'm just thinking about Stephanie Perry, who we've talked about a lot during this conversation. But one of her quotes is, a job is something that you do. It's not who you are. Right? Yeah. And so we have to recognize that when you're in casual conversation with someone, and the only thing you're talking about your job, or there's a majority of the conversation is about your job, or you meet someone and you're asking them immediately what you do for a living, or you identify yourself in relation to your job title, I don't know. That might be some indication that you're over-identifying about your job title. So we need to look at that. The other thing I want to say is that we need to be mindful, and I happen to have this book right here, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, right? So when we as Black women, we have to recognize, and it goes back to what Marissa was saying, that we have to remember that as Black people, we were brought here based upon the exploitation of our labor, right? And so when we center work, why do we do that? That is how we were programmed. That's how we were programmed. And so do we want to continue to center work for other people to exploit us? We have to think about that and the impact that has on our mind, right? And is that a reflection of post-traumatic slave syndrome?
I'm gonna write this down. Two things. One is I wrote down the book because I'm gonna read that. The second thing is I'm gonna link in the bio, because when you said, like, who am I? I have a couple videos. I think the playlist is like put the cape down or take the cape off, something like that. But that is one of, I can see the thumbnail and it was like, who are you? Because I think it's like half is black and white and the other half is like in color. But yeah, who are we? And it talks about the conditioning. And like, we can coulda, woulda, shoulda. But the good part is we can move forward. And there are so many resources where there are Black women who are refusing to be silenced. I mean, 3 of us are sitting on here right now, and not even necessarily refuse to be silenced, because I think that has more of like a connotation, but we refuse to keep this to ourselves, because if I don't share my story, if you don't hear me laughing all loud and carrying on, but if I'm not out here being transparent and sharing the good, the bad, and otherwise, then how can you see that there is another side to this thing? So I think
that we can come through trauma and we can experience post-traumatic growth. And all 3 of us are examples of post-traumatic growth, that none of us would have wished that we went through a toxic work environment. None of us, right? But all 3 of us are examples of post-traumatic growth, that we are now 3 women who are now functioning at a higher level because of what we went through, right? And I did a LinkedIn post about that recently, that I never would have done the stuff that I'm doing now if I had not had that toxic work environment. I never would have had a YouTube channel. I never would have been on LinkedIn. I never would have been doing this stuff about Black women toxic jobs if this stuff had not happened to me, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
talked about like basically they woke up a sleeping lioness.
Yeah.
I would have just gone on and been complacent and
Mm-hmm.
been miserable at that toxic job. I would have just gone on and just done whatever, right? But now guess what? They woke me up and now I can't be quiet, right? So now I'm
Yeah.
like super loud. And now guess what? Now I'm liberating a whole bunch of Black women because of what these fools did. Okay, like look what they did. Look what they did. And you know, it's so funny, like to my videos, a lot of Black women would send me the scripture. And April, I know you know the scripture about people being used as your footstools, who
Mm-hmm.
people who
Yeah.
are
You
meant
know,
to
make the
destroy
enemy your
you
pistols. Yeah.
can use
Mm-hmm.
your footstools. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah. You know what? Let me just look at the comments real quick. Hold on. There is one here. And you know what? When I see this, talking about centering work, if we're centering work, then we are not at the center. Our dreams are not at the center. Like how, but the comment says, I think we center work because for most of us, work is connected to survival. Of course, that can most often be toxic. Many times we don't even know that we're in toxic jobs. If every job I've worked at, and thank you, Tuesday Van Story 9666 for commenting. But if every job we've had has shown some sort of element of it being of toxicity, then how do we even know? Like how you said, this is our dream job. We've got, we're getting paid. We got these benefits. Like how do we even know that we are in a toxic job if all of our jobs have had some sort of toxicity associated with it, you know?
Well, let me address that. Okay,
Sure.
so I don't think all jobs are toxic, right? I think a lot of jobs are
Yeah.
toxic. I don't think all jobs are toxic, right? And I want us to be clear that yes, we all need to work. We all need to make money, right? So we're not here talking about, girl, nobody work. We're not saying that
At
at all.
all.
Okay.
At all.
We're talking about we understand that we need to make income. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying is that when we recognize that we're in toxic environments that are harming us, how do we then identify situations that we can get into that are not toxic in the sense of
Mm-hmm.
harming us? I don't want us to get in a mode of thinking, well, all jobs are toxic.
No,
I
yeah,
might
yeah,
as well
yeah.
just stay at this job because all jobs are toxic. And that's just what you got to deal with because you got to make money, girl. So you just got to stay at a toxic job. I don't want us to
Mm-mm.
believe that because that is not true,
And
right?
it's not, yeah.
It's not
And
true, right?
yeah, thank you for
So
mentioning that. Yeah.
we need to recognize there are signs that a job is toxic, right? I know for me, I ignored a lot of the signs, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the signs, right? So on my
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel, I have a private membership and I talk very openly, very transparently about all the signs I missed. I'm talking openly. I missed this sign, I missed that, because I don't want you to
Mm-hmm.
miss the signs too, okay?
Right.
There are a
Right.
lot of signs that you might miss, okay?
Yeah.
So there are signs. The other thing is, and I'm transparent about this too, we lie to ourselves about, oh, at least I know the game, or at least I know how to play the game, or at least, right? So we start lying to ourselves like, oh, it's not that bad. Well, at least I know this devil and not that devil. So we
Right.
lie to ourselves, right? And we
Yeah.
say,
Rather have
oh,
the
it's not
devil
that
you do
bad,
know. Yeah.
right? So we have to be honest with ourselves about the impact of toxicity. Again, I'm quoting Stephanie Perry. Toxicity is a poison. It's a poison. If you're in a
Mm-hmm.
toxic work environment, eventually that's going to get into your system and it's going to harm you. So that's another part of it. Okay. So this conversation is not about don't work, right?
Yeah.
We're
No.
talking about we understand the need that we need to make money for survival. We're
Yeah.
clear about that, right?
Yeah.
We're also talking about we need to recognize the signs of a toxic job. We need to understand situations in which we might lie to ourselves as Black women about if a job is toxic. We're also talking about recognizing and utilizing and accessing resources to help us get out of toxic jobs so that we can replace our income, we can replace our health insurance, and we can replace our retirement as well as create multiple streams of income. So again, I don't want us to feel resigned in staying in toxic jobs, feeling like, oh, we got to just stay there because we need money.
Yeah. And I think, and thank you for making that distinction, because as you know, because you were on my channel, it was my birthday. It was a Thursday when I when I resigned. If you recall from I knew, okay, back it up. So what I was referring to was before we have that awareness, awareness of being in a toxic job, mentioning like we may not even view it as that if it's better than other places where we were. For me, I went back to corporate, and I went back after being on my own for, I don't know, about close to 5 years. And I went back to corporate temporarily, but I went as this version of myself. So yeah, I'm a fan of if you need to, I called it hitting a lick, but I had a lot of debt that I needed to pay. And I knew, well, I'm going to get a job. That's the easier, the path to least resistance. But there's some people who have zero interest in being entrepreneurs, don't want to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
And to when you get connected to some of these resources, when you begin to have that self-awareness, because I always say self-awareness is key. When you have that self-awareness, you understand some of the signs, you understand the people that you are around, the words that you say, your viewpoints and perspectives, the places where you will even, like your tolerance is a lot less. And it's not like you're going on the job being sassy. You're not even putting yourself in a position. You say, no, thank you. I don't think that this job would be the right fit for me. Now have that self-awareness. But going back as healing, fully equipped, you got stuff in your toolbox, you are okay with, because one thing I was going to do was take my time. Like, please, no vacation. What? How much? Bye. Just not having a lot of those emotions, as I mentioned, that are intertwined with our job, is our identity. And then a lot of the sense of pride that we get, a lot of the validation, self-validation even, or the sunken cost fallacy. I mean, we can go on and on for the different things that have led us to be in the place where we emotionally are not ready to leave a job. But I think that this is, and Marissa, I want to give you an opportunity to chime in before we segue into talking about the summit, because I think it really cohesively ties everything together. But I did want to give you an opportunity to jump in if you want to.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize like what we've been socialized to accept, to tolerate. A lot of healing from that experience has been like rebuilding my self-worth, right? And understanding like, oh, I don't have to tolerate that. I don't. When someone talks to me like that, like I have the agency to pivot out of that environment. And I think that goes back to Dr. Kamani, the book that you showed, right? The post-traumatic slave syndrome. We have been socialized over generations to literally like adopt this belief that we just have to be in environments that are harming us. And I think really with the summit, we're like charting a different way. Like, again, in the legacy of Black women activists, showing that there are different possibilities for our lives, making a way out of no way. Even when they tell us there are no options, that we just have to stay put, absorb this toxicity, which we know causes mental, physical health issues, shortens our lifespans. What if there is a different way? And what if we can provide resources, knowledge, information, since so many of us have done this? We've been on this path, right? And so I think that's important to recognize too.
Yeah, and you know what, one thing that I do like about the summit, and we can go ahead and talk about it. I'll pull up the screen share with my fancy auto visuals, but I think that it is important to know that we are not like running, like how I said, I ran off, because it's like your shadow. No matter where you go, it's going to follow you. But it really is about getting those resources, getting to the point of self-awareness, getting to the point where, like you said, Marissa, wait a minute, there's other options. And that is one thing about the summit. And let me go ahead and bring this up, and I can have you all walk through I hope it's enough. Hold on. What happens if I do this? Yay. Okay, even better. Let's talk because I want to make sure that it's large enough for the people to be able to see. But I'm just gonna scroll down here. And let me know, can you all still see, can you see the screen moving?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about, first of all, the summit is May 1st through 3rd of this year. And I'm going to, you know what? I don't like this view. Hold on. Let's do this because I think it's important to show you all's faces is where, hold on. Add to the stage. There we go. Go ahead and share. I'm just going to keep scrolling, but go ahead and tell us about this year's summit.
Yeah, so I think this year we're really focused on, yes, if you are planning your exit from a toxic work environment, as both of us have done, and also the tremendous amount of Black women who have been forced out of the workforce, who have been laid off, positions been eliminated, providing resources from 28 Black women thought leaders in one space, because so many of us have had, unfortunately, like a similar experience of being pushed out of the workforce in one way or another. And so we're focused on how do you create multiple income streams? How do you make a strategic exit plan? How do you heal from workplace trauma? How do you reignite these parts of ourselves that we've had to cut off in these work environments so often to survive, to get through? And so it's really like a one-stop shop of information for you to make your strategy, make your plan on your timeline. This is a trauma-informed space. So again, attendees will not be on camera. You'll also have the option to change your name within the summit platform if you'd like to attend completely anonymously. And yes, we are excited. Again, this is our 3rd annual summit. And we do have 3 ticket tiers. The first being if you just want access to all the live sessions plus 1 week of replays. That's a standard pass. Premium pass will give you 1 year of replays if you need more time to soak in the information, plus 3 bonus financial liberation lab workshops that will be held on Zoom after the summit. If finances is a huge concern for you, if there's a lot of fear around understanding finances, making your financial exit plan, that pass can be really helpful for you. And then there's Liberation Accountability Circle, which is new this year. So if you need support from both Dr. Kamani and I, 6 accountability sessions over the next year for you to really implement your plan with the information that you get at the summit, plus 1 year of replays, plus access to those 3 financial liberation lab workshops as well. So those are the 3 ticket tiers. And early bird pricing lasts through March 31st, and then it increases to standard pricing as well.
Hold on. What now? 6 sessions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's worth 1 session. And this is not, you know, like the value of, no, but I think that it really is, you know, like
it is.
That, and that's something that you're saying. Yeah, I don't remember that from last year. So
yeah,
so
we added that.
It'll allow you all the opportunity to work one-on-one and work directly with, and I'm going to presume that that's not everybody. Is that limited spots?
It's limited to 20. Yeah.
Okay.
To 20 spots.
Okay. And is that part of the early bird? Hold on. I think I saw it. What? Yep. See, okay. So to the 31st. Okay.
Yes.
And then Dr. Kamani, go ahead and share with us some of the areas. I'm just going to scroll down on these speakers, but can you share with us some of the areas that these various speakers are going to be covering?
I actually think Marissa would be better at covering.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay, Marissa, what do you want to cover, Dr. Kamani?
I just want to cover that I'm excited for the summit. It's just an outstanding experience. And we also have just a community, like you said before, that even though we're talking about something that people might feel like, oh my God, this is anxiety provoking, like the summit is like, so like you get so pumped up, like just to be in a room with like over 300 Black women. We've had 300 Black women each year. And just the energy is just like, wow. It's like you're like on a high. It's amazing.
Yes. Okay. So Marissa, tell us some of the areas, because you did say that it is focusing really on Black women in this
Mhm.
job economy currently. So, what are some of these speakers? I'm just going to scroll by. What are some of the areas, the greatest hits that people can expect?
Yes. So as we mentioned during this talk, the From Pet to Threat panel with the three incredible Black women researchers, Dr. Keisha Thomas, Dr. Rosemary Phelps, Dr. Juanita Johnson-Bailey. That will be actually our kickoff on Friday, May 1st, followed by a sound bowl meditation with Dr. Danette King, which I'm really excited about, to kind of like prepare our nervous systems to
Mm-hmm.
enter into the information portion of the summit on Saturday and Sunday. And so we have multiple different sessions on creating online income streams, on knowing your numbers before you pivot, which Adelia Borshade will be covering. Krishan of Blacksit Global will be covering multiple income streams. We have a panel discussion on financial planning, retirement planning that I'm really excited about. Ngozi, who is the founder of an AI site, really centering Black women. We'll be talking about how to build an AI powered online business to leave
Nice.
corporate, which I'm really excited about. So many great sessions, but really focused on financial exit planning this year is one core focus. Fear. So understanding the trauma that you may have encountered in the work environment. How do you move through fear? There's a really excellent session that Dr. Jamila Raouf will be covering on manifesting your ideal career. So kind of like tapping into the power that we have within us to really bring forth something that feels aligned, which I'm excited to hear.
Mm-hmm.
A panel discussion on healing from workplace trauma. What else do we have? A vision board session. If you're someone who needs something tangible, like after the summit, you'll want to make sure to attend that. So you have the vision board right in front of you that Lauren Jones Forbes will be covering, walking us through how to create your vision board, to see that there is something after this. And yeah, just so many incredible. Stephanie Perry will be kicking us off on Saturday, May 2nd. Again, moving through fear. And then if you're someone who is fearful about resume revision, we have Sharnae Horton, founder of the Resume Addict, will be coming in to talk about how do you revise your resume. So many incredible sessions.
And
Okay.
your
Oh, I'm so
HR
excited.
lady would be there. So, so
For
many
our,
awesome
our ending
speakers. Yeah.
keynote, yes.
Yes. Well, I want to go ahead and see if there's anyone that has any questions before we hop off. But I do have, I created a page on my site for there we go, for this year's 2026 summit. And it is, you can go to positivelyprill.com/2026 summit. I also will put it in the description and put that in the, what am I trying to say? The pinned comment as well. And it doesn't seem like anyone has any questions. I'm not sure if anyone does have any questions afterwards. Go ahead. I will be monitoring the comment section. If you are watching this on the replay, go ahead and hit let us know and let us know your questions. Both Dr. Kamani and Marissa will both, I'll make sure they get answered. But before we hop off, I want you all to tell a Black woman who is watching, who is like, oh my goodness, am I in a toxic job? I don't know if I'm in the top. What is going, like, what, what do you want to say to a Black woman who is currently in the position that you were, and she's maybe thinking, I don't know if this summit is really for me. Like, who is this for? Talk to her.
Yeah, I think if you have the inkling, right, if you're feeling some of the physical sensations, maybe insomnia, right, heart palpitations, these really like serious physical symptoms that we experience in toxic work environments, and you're feeling stuck, you're feeling trapped. April, you mentioned like the notion of this being a good job, right, that we've worked so hard for, we've poured so much of ourselves into, getting to that realization, like, what if this is toxic, right, because it's impacting me? I think the summit is for you. to attend, to absorb the information, even if you're not ready to exit a job, right? If you have experienced a layoff, I think the summit is for you to really like see the different resources and options that exist. Again, because there's this narrative, right, that there's no options for us and that we have to
Mm-hmm.
go into panic mode. And that's the purpose, really, to bring us together, 28 Black women thought leaders, to share. No, there's actually a pathway forward, multiple
Yeah.
different pathways. And it's going
Yeah.
to look different for every single person based on your life, right? Based on your life circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
what you value, right? What direction you want to go in, and know that you're in control of that and you have agency to move. And so if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling trapped, if you're feeling like the issue is you, please come into the space so we can reflect back to you. First of all, the issue is not you. We're living in multiple systems of oppression, right, that are trying to steal our light constantly. And coming into a place where you can literally attend anonymously, soak up the information, soak up the vibes
Mm-hmm.
that we're putting out, right, to pour into you, and really make your strategy going forward, whatever that looks like for you.
Yes. Thanks, Marissa. Dr. Kamani.
That was beautifully stated, Marissa.
Yeah.
You may be coming into the summit either working a toxic job, thinking you're in a toxic job. The fact that you think you're in a toxic job, you probably are.
Yeah.
And then, or you may have been laid off, or you think that you're about to get laid off. But I would just say for us as Black women, just seeing what has been happening for us as Black women, I think the summit is for any Black woman at this point, because these jobs, like Stephanie says, they're not loyal. They're not loyal. So at any point, your job can just be gone. Okay. So I don't think that it harms any of us to have exit plans in place. So in terms of learning how to replace your income and your benefits, it does not hurt you to have an exit plan in place and to know about your benefits, to know about multiple streams of income. So this summit is for any Black woman. It is particularly for Black women who are, again, trying to leave toxic jobs, think they're in a toxic job, or they've been laid off. Also, this is a one-of-a-kind experience. I don't know of anything else like this, where you have Black women pouring into other Black women. This is a shortcut and it's a blueprint. So you may be coming in afraid, worried, not knowing what to do, not knowing. And instead of going on Google and YouTube trying to cobble something together,
Yeah. Yeah.
you have an exit plan by the time you leave the summit.
Yeah.
And nobody will know you're there because you won't be on camera.
Yes. And there is, someone has asked, are there some scholarships? I know that there are some other amazing Black women who donated some ability for women to attend free. But is there a way that you would suggest they contact you for more information if they may be interested in a scholarship?
Yes, we do have very limited scholarships available at the moment, but please send us an email, support@liftingasweclimb consulting.com, and I'll also put it in the chat here.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, ladies, thank you once again. Go ahead and tell them where they can find you. I have everything linked, but just say it for those who may not want to click on descriptions. Oh,
yes.
Okay. Not both at once. Okay.
You can follow me YouTube. My YouTube channel is Marissa Price Heals. Wonderful, incredible conversations just about healing, just telling our truth, coming back into who we are authentically, particularly if you are highly sensitive, so you absorb information, right, people's energy around you, being able to, I think, establish kind of like a force field around yourself to protect those parts of you is so important. So that's the purpose of my channel. I also am on Instagram, Marissa Price Heals, LinkedIn, Marissa Price MSW, and my website is marissaprice.me if you are interested in working with me one-on-one.
Perfect. And Marissa, can you please, when we hop off, can you send me those last two? I have your Instagram and your YouTube channel. So I want to list everything. Okay, Dr. Kamani.
Yes. So my YouTube is Lifting As We Climb Consulting. I'm on live every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific time. I'm interviewing a different Black woman talking about her experiences leaving a toxic job, because I want Black women to know you're not alone. You have options, healing is possible, and there's resources available to you. So every Sunday I'm on live, so come on over and check out the conversations. If you missed it live, you can watch the replay. I also have a private community for Black women on YouTube. It's called the Butterfly Community for Black Women. So you can join that community. We have YouTube lives, we have recorded videos, we have book clubs, we have a small community just for Black women. I'm also on LinkedIn, Kamani Norrington Sands. I'm on Instagram, but not really. But my main platforms are YouTube and LinkedIn. And I hope that you come to the summit so that you get your expertise together.
Yes, please join us. So thank you, ladies, so much. It is always a pleasure speaking with you. And I am so, like I said, privileged and honored to be working with you yet another year on this summit that, you know, like I stay, anytime we get together, I stay with the notebook, okay? I'm the MC, but I'm attending the summit just as much as other people are. So yes, thank you everyone for watching. If you are interested in getting tickets, again, you can get them from either of our channels. I have it linked going across the screen, positivelypro.com/2026 summit. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.